They will tell you life is about survival. That your job is to keep your head above the water and accept the tides as they come. But Napoleon Hill knew the truth, that survival is not the aim of a human soul. Survival is the lowest bar, the beginning of the game, not the finish line. The true quest is fulfillment, the life that hums with purpose, vibrates with achievement, and leaves behind a legacy carved into the stone of history. He studied the titans, Carnegie, Edison, Ford, Rockefeller, not to glorify their wealth, but to dissect the invisible code that separated those who lived by chance from those who lived by design. And the first truth he discovered was brutal: you will never drift into greatness. Drifting is the slow suicide of potential. The man who drifts believes tomorrow will save him while he wastes today. The man who rises understands, the ocean does not bring the ship to harbor unless the captain takes the wheel. Hill's blueprint began with a single law: definiteness of purpose. Without a purpose so clear it burns through your mind like fire, you are condemned to wander through distractions, forever busy, never arriving. The world is filled with people who work hard, yet move nowhere. Effort without aim is like running on a treadmill, exhausting, but leaving you exactly where you started. You must know where you are going, and why. Not vaguely, not someday, with precision. Write it, speak it, breathe it until it is part of your bloodstream. The mind, once gripped by a vision, begins to reorganize itself. Thoughts change, actions align, and unseen doors begin to open. But purpose without belief is a house without a foundation. Here is where Hill's genius tore through the excuses of his time, the understanding that belief is not an accident, it is an act of will. Every achievement in history first existed as a stubborn refusal to accept impossibility. Edison did not hope the light bulb would work, he decided it would. Carnegie did not wish to build an empire, he resolved to. They trained their minds to see their vision as inevitable long before the world had any proof. And belief is contagious, not just in how it spreads to others, but in how it spreads through your own life. Believe you are capable in one pursuit, and soon you begin to walk taller in others. Doubt yourself in one arena, and watch that shadow creep into every corner of your ambitions. The mind is not neutral, it is either building your destiny or dismantling it. Then comes clarity. Not the shallow clarity of lists and calendars, but the deep, diamond clarity of knowing which battles are worth fighting and which are mere noise. Hill warned of the trivial many, the distractions that beg for your time but offer nothing in return. You must learn to say no with the same conviction as you say yes. Every hour spent on the irrelevant is an hour stolen from the mission. And here is the part most cannot stomach: you will have to disappoint people. You will have to turn away from the expectations that chain you to mediocrity. The world rewards those who protect their focus, even if it curses them at first. Purpose, belief, clarity, these are not abstract ideals. They are weapons, forged for the battles ahead. Because discipline will test you. The moment you declare your goal, resistance awakens. Your old habits will whisper to you at night. Your comfort zone will hold out its arms like a lover begging you to stay. But discipline is the ability to act according to your purpose, not your mood. The man who waits to feel motivated is like a farmer who waits for perfect weather to plant his crops. He will starve before the season ends. This is why Hill spoke of organized planning, the deliberate arrangement of action toward a definite aim. Planning is not about perfection, it is about momentum. A plan will evolve, but without one, you will drift back into the currents. Ford's first car was crude, clumsy, and nearly a failure, but it was built. From that first imperfect version, improvement became inevitable. Discipline does not demand perfection, it demands progress. And still, Hill knew this was not enough. Because the world is not a fair arena. You can have purpose, belief, clarity, and discipline, and still be struck by events you did not choose. Here is where adaptability becomes your lifeline. The rigid tree snaps in the storm, the bending tree survives. When Edison's factory burned to the ground, destroying years of work, He stood in the glow of the flames and said, "All our mistakes have burned up. Now we can start fresh." Adaptability is the refusal to die in the face of change. It is the art of using even the setback as a stepping stone. The blueprint was never about avoiding hardship, it was about becoming the kind of person who grows stronger because of it. Resilience is not a trait you are born with, it is a muscle you build through repeated trials. And Hill saw resilience in every great life he studied, the steel in Lincoln's eyes after a string of political defeats, the grin on Disney's face when the bank slammed another door in his path. These were men who did not just survive hardship, they mined it for the gold it carried in disguise. And yet, there is a deeper truth hidden in the blueprint, one that Napoleon Hill whispered between the lines for those ready to hear it. The greats were not merely builders of wealth or architects of empires. They were students, relentless learners in the laboratory of life. They understood that ignorance is the heaviest chain a human being can carry, and that most people wear it proudly, mistaking stubbornness for wisdom. Hill saw that every setback carried within it a hidden curriculum. The loss, the failure, the humiliation, these were not curses, but courses. Andrew Carnegie was not born into steel, he was born into poverty. But he read. He studied men greater than himself, asked questions others were too proud to ask, and took notes others were too lazy to keep. Edison's workshop was less a factory and more a school, one where each failure was graded not by shame, but by how much was learned before the next attempt. Ford devoured the knowledge of engines, but also of systems, markets, and people. The world will pass the uneducated dreamer by, no matter how pure his vision, if he refuses to grow. But Hill knew that knowledge alone is dangerous. Knowledge without application becomes arrogance. It turns the mind into a library that no one visits. The true learner applies. Experiments. Tests. Gets their hands dirty in the work. Because the pages of a book can show you a principle, but the sweat on your brow teaches you its meaning. The ancient Stoics said it, to know and not to do, is not to know. Hill would have nodded in agreement. And then there is gratitude, a force that modern minds dismiss as sentiment, but which Hill understood as fuel. Gratitude sharpens your vision for opportunity. It's easy to see what you lack, it takes discipline to see what you have and multiply it. The man who sees nothing but the gap between himself and his goal walks with heavy feet. The man who sees how far he has come moves with strength. Gratitude turns scarcity into abundance long before the numbers prove it. It keeps you from poisoning your ambition with bitterness. Think of Lincoln, writing letters of thanks even in the midst of a nation at war. Think of Disney, grateful for his artists when the bank account was nearly empty. Gratitude doesn't mean contentment with stagnation, it means carrying a full heart into the fight, rather than a hollow one. And when your heart is full, you begin to notice things others overlook, the small door in the wall everyone else believes is solid stone. This is where adaptability meets gratitude. When the market changes, when the deal falls through, when the plan crumbles, gratitude keeps you from panicking. It reminds you that you still have resources, skills, allies, and breath in your lungs. And with that reminder, you can pivot instead of collapse. The man who can pivot without losing faith is dangerous to mediocrity, because he is unpredictable. You cannot trap him with failure, for he will simply turn it into another path. Hill also spoke of the power of the mastermind, the alliance of minds united by a shared purpose. The great figures of history did not walk alone. Edison had his team of experimenters, Carnegie had his network of industrial allies, Ford had his engineers. When minds synchronize in harmony toward a definite goal, something almost mystical happens, ideas collide, solutions emerge, energy multiplies. But this alliance is fragile. It cannot survive envy, dishonesty, or laziness. You must choose your inner circle as carefully as a general chooses his officers, for the wrong companion can sink the ship faster than the storm. And as the blueprint unfolds, you begin to see the pattern. Purpose sets the destination. Belief fuels the journey. Clarity guards your focus. Discipline moves your feet. Adaptability navigates the storms. Resilience endures the losses. Learning sharpens your tools. Gratitude feeds your spirit. The right alliances amplify your power. But Hill's final and perhaps most challenging truth is this: none of it matters if you do not act. Dreams without action are the opium of the soul, intoxicating, but ultimately deadly. Action transforms the invisible into the visible. It is the bridge between the mind and the world. Without it, you become a philosopher without proof, a soldier without a battle, a singer with no song. And here is where most fail. They wait. They plan endlessly. They rehearse in their minds until the moment is over. Hill called it the habit of procrastination, a silent killer of greatness. The antidote is decisiveness. Make the call. Take the step. Sign the paper. Knock on the door. You will never have perfect certainty, and you do not need it. Life rewards the one who moves, because movement generates momentum, and momentum reveals possibilities that standing still can never uncover. Every second you hesitate, the forces of drift pull at your ankles. Every day you delay, your belief decays just a little. And when belief rots, purpose begins to fade, until you no longer remember why you started. No, you must act, and act now, while the fire is still hot. You must put your blueprint to work while your heart still beats with the thrill of its vision. Because if you don't, you will wake one day to find that your dreams have grown old without you. And so we arrive at the summit of Hill's vision, the place where philosophy becomes blood, where the blueprint becomes breath. For all his meticulous study of industrial giants, his interviews with statesmen, inventors, and pioneers, Hill's ultimate revelation was not about money, titles, or trophies. It was about becoming. The life that fulfills is not one where you merely possess more, it is one where you are more. More aware. More capable. More alive. The world will try to sell you shortcuts, fast lanes to wealth, formulas for influence, glittering distractions dressed as destiny. But Hill knew the truth: the man who chases shortcuts never develops the strength to keep what he finds. It is the process, not the prize, that forges the character capable of carrying fulfillment. Carnegie could have handed you his steel empire, but without the years of vision, negotiation, and endurance, you would watch it crumble in your hands. Edison could have gifted you the patent to the light bulb, but without his patience for trial and error, you would never improve it. You are not here merely to receive. You are here to earn. Because in the earning, you transform. The trials you wish you could skip are the very chisels that sculpt you into the kind of person who can hold greatness without being destroyed by it. And here, perhaps, is the most humbling truth of Hill's blueprint: fulfillment is not measured in applause or monuments, but in the quiet knowledge that you lived fully aligned with your purpose. A man could die unknown to the masses, yet die fulfilled because every day of his life bent toward the aim he had chosen. Another could die celebrated, yet hollow, because his victories were accidents, not the deliberate fruits of a vision he shaped. Fulfillment is the echo of your life when you are gone. It is the mark left not just in bank ledgers or headlines, but in the hearts you've touched, the minds you've sharpened, the courage you've awakened in others. It is the deep calm that comes from knowing you spent yourself entirely, that nothing you were given went unused. And so, you must live like the architect of your own destiny. You must draw the lines of your life with intention, refusing to let the drafts of fear or doubt redraw them for you. You must meet each day with the fire of a man building something that will outlast him. There will be mornings when the weight of the work tempts you to delay, evenings when exhaustion seduces you to rest before the task is done. But greatness has no sympathy for hesitation. The blueprint is worthless if it stays on the desk. Decide. Begin. Continue. Adjust. Persist. Do not stop because it is hard. Stop only because it is complete. Hill's words still burn because they are as true now as when he wrote them: whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. But here is the part too many forget: conception and belief are not passive. You must feed them with discipline, sharpen them with learning, guard them with clarity, and prove them through relentless action. And if you do, if you live the blueprint with unwavering commitment, you will wake one day to find that fulfillment is not a distant prize you chased. It is the air you breathe. It is in the way you carry yourself, the respect you earn without demanding it, the opportunities that seem to find you without your chasing them. It is in the joy of knowing that you have mastered the only thing you truly own, yourself. So rise. Rise from the drift into the current of your chosen purpose. Rise from the comfort that dulls your edge. Rise from the excuses that keep your hands idle while your heart hungers for more. The blueprint is before you, etched in the wisdom of those who refuse to waste their days. It is your turn to build. Build a life that when the final page turns, will cause you to smile in the dark and whisper, I lived. Not survived. Not endured. But lived, with purpose burning in your chest, with gratitude in your heart, with resilience in your bones, and with a legacy only you could leave. Because in the end, fulfillment is not found. It is forged. And the forge is open now. Step inside.